When you're first getting started, it is so important to talk about something that you know and that you're passionate about. Don't try to talk about something that someone else is talking about, or you heard somewhere else, or you think is trendy or might be cool. Have the courage to have an opinion and a passion that drives you so much that when you're up there on stage, you're just electrifying, because you don't have to pretend and you don't have to think of anything, because this is something that you live and you know.
Oh my gosh, I'm like a kid at Christmas because I am overjoyed with energy and enthusiasm. I hope you can hear it in my voice. We just announced that tickets are now on sale for the Amplify Your Life World Conference in September in Bend, Oregon, and I want you to get into this room. Now, why did we create this event? We created this event because time and time and time again, the two biggest challenges and things that held the individuals in my community back from really getting the success that they want, for going after their dreams and goals, were these two things. The first one was, how do I know if this investment is right for me? And being held back by sometimes the investment, the event, or the mastermind, or the coaching program seems so unattainable that it just stopped us in our tracks. And then the second thing being, well, I want to do this, but I want my significant other to come along too. I don't want to outgrow my significant other. I want to do this together. I mean, we're in this life together and I want to do it together. And those two challenges were the things that stopped people from making an investment in themselves, from saying yes to getting themselves in the room, for basically saying yes to stepping in to their God-given vision and dreams and goals and calling and purpose. And now you don't have to consider those things anymore, because with the Amplify Your Life World Conference, you get the best of it all. And your significant other gets to come too. This is not just a female only or a male only event, and it's not just a conference. So when you sign up for the conference, you actually fill out a survey and you get grouped with 20 other amazing individuals that are similar to you. So if you're a beginner, you're not going to be with someone that's so super expert in their area of genius that you feel not confident. And if you're an expert, you're not going to be with someone that's a beginner, because you want to be with other experts, people that are lifting you up. So you get grouped with other like-minded individuals that will challenge you and want to be there to support you, along with a coach. And you meet prior to the event, during the event, and after the event, to make sure that whatever it is that you want to amplify in your life, whether that be your life, your relationships, your health, your business, your career, or anything else that you can think of, maybe it's your faith, that you are able to do that because you have this supportive community. So it's just like getting a coach because you're assigned a coach, it's joining a mastermind, and it's coming to the conference, all for the small price tag of normally what you would just pay for like a 1 day boring in-person conference that you just shove your notes into the drawer with. So find out more. Text me the word amplify to 503-386-2981, and we will send you over all of the details, or just go to carmenolin.com and you can find it there as well. Here's to amplifying our lives in 2024 together. Did you know that within our company right now, I have over a decade of speaking, coaching, and training experience, as well as prior to that, 16 years corporate leadership, where I was doing the same speaking, coaching, leading, and training? Yeah. And, 2023 and 2024, I've really stepped back into owning my voice and owning my significance and being booked on stages. So I've been getting a ton of questions from you on, how do I get started with speaking? How do I craft my talk? How do I know who wants a speaker, and more? And I just did a poll on my Instagram, so I'm so excited to field more questions and do this speaking series for you. But let's start like way back at the beginning. So in this episode, part one is going to be all about how to get started, because it definitely doesn't happen overnight, but with practice and consistency, then you can get there and you can be a paid speaker, which is something that I find is so fulfilling to me, because the impact that I can make, the closer I can get to our vision of significantly impacting the lives of over 1 million leaders and entrepreneurs through speaking, training, high level coaching, and connection. Like, speaking is the number one way I can do that, because I can speak to large groups. So, how did I get started? Well, let me tell you, I haven't always wanted to be a speaker. Speaking wasn't something that came naturally to me. In fact, I remember when I was younger, maybe I was about 6, 7, 8 years old, my mom put me in beauty pageants. So I think I was like living out a lifelong dream of hers through me. But I remember getting up on stage and I was supposed to speak into the microphone, and I was so shy at the time. I didn't say anything. So there wasn't anything that came out. Needless to say, I didn't do very well in that pageant. But fast forward to college, I remember needing to take some communications credit, and public speaking was one of the options. And I did everything that I could to not take that class. So I took death and dying, interpersonal communications. At one point, we had to tour the funeral home. But by the way, that was actually a really interesting class. I learned a lot from that. But anyway, I did everything that I could in order to not have to publicly speak. And then within my corporate career, I got so confident and expertise in my corporate leadership and the skills and what I was doing, because I was basically raised in finance from the time I was 17 for 16 years into my 30s. And so I felt very confident. And so I could speak in front of people, I could do trainings, I could lead people on that one specific topic. And then when I started my own coaching business, so many of you know that I started as a holistic nutritionist. So I started my own coaching business, and I realized really quickly, just me by myself behind my computer doing this online business, not connecting with anyone in my community, I'm not going to make it very far, especially at that time. I didn't have good mentorship. I didn't have good systems. I didn't have a launch strategy or really any strategy at all. I was just kind of shooting from the hip. I remember doing a lot of things in Excel and Word documents and using Google and blind copying people. So I thought, how am I going to get started with my business? And one of the things that I came up with is, why don't I partner with local fitness centers and see if I can offer a free workshop around nutrition? And this is how I started speaking. So, the steps I'm going to share with you today, the 3 steps I want you to think about, and I'll give those to you now and then I'll break them down for you. Number 1 is identifying your audience and your message. Number 2 is practice and plan and talk about it. Start building your brand. Start telling people that you have something worthwhile to say and you want to share it and you can make a difference in the lives of others. And the last thing is just gain experience. Speakers that speak get booked to speak more, not speakers that are not speaking. So let's go back to number 1, identifying your message and your audience. So this is so important, and I want you to hear this. I want you to make sure that you have the courage to say something that you're passionate about and you have an opinion about. Don't try to speak to something that someone else says or something that's trendy or you see someone else doing it. Think about, what is it that's on your heart that you're passionate about that you could talk about for days? What do people ask you about when you go to a dinner party and you find yourself just sharing about all of the time? For me, I'll give you an example. When I first started, the thing I was so passionate about, and granted, I am still passionate about, and I could talk at a dinner party for hours about nutrition because I am a certified holistic nutritionist and I do stay up on current research. But it really was nutrition and food. And I was passionate about helping people feel good each day. And the number one way we can do that is nourishing our body. And so I came up with principles around food that I could talk about, having the courage to say something. I wasn't jumping on every single bandwagon. I wasn't doing the keto diet or the whole 30 or this or that or the other thing. My opinion, and I had the courage to talk about it, was to eat real food. Cook most of your meals at home, make water your primary beverage. Let me show you how to do this. And it was all based on single ingredient foods. And people sometimes didn't agree with me, but that was okay because I knew in my heart that I was making a difference for people. I had the courage to say something and have an opinion about it and impact people's lives. And I know when people would start eating the way that I was suggesting or teaching or sharing when I was doing these free workshops where I was partnering with other fitness facilities. So, partnering with other like minded businesses because it was bringing more people into them. Not only their members were coming into these talks, but also people from the community were coming into these talks. So, they had a higher likelihood of getting more members. So, it's a win win when you're thinking about these collaborations. And when you approach people about collaborations, talk to them about the win win. Then, what was happening was I had clients that were doing just what I talked about. They would tell me, Carmen, I don't know what it is, but I've just been following the plan and I just feel so good. It's like, yeah, we've detoxed our body of the crap and we're having energy, natural energy. We're fueling our cells. We're reversing any cell damage. Like all of these things are happening. And so then they would start thinking, like, hey, could you come and do a lunch and learn for me? So my clients started thinking about, could you come and do like my small women's group, my book club. Could you come and could you talk to us? So I started speaking to small businesses and corporations in my town doing lunch and learns. And I started sharing that I was doing these types of lunch and learns. So this is the first thing is having something important to say it over and over again. And so as we go into number two, it's practice and talk about it. So, talking about it all the time, people knew me. They would quote what I was saying. They would know me from my 28-day clean eating program where I would have like almost 100 people signed up at any one given time, where they would get recipes with nutrition facts and a meal plan for the week. And I would teach them how to food prep and eat their food. And they got such great results that they would have me come and speak to their business. They would have me come and speak to their loved ones that they loved at their groups. It was such a great way, but only because I had the courage to say something and be passionate about it and talk about it over and over again, and then start telling people that you offer this. Record it, post it on social media, share it in emails. Make sure to ask for referrals when you're doing any of these. Something super easy is, let's say you collaborate with a local business that's like minded. All of the people that come, you could just pull them right then and there towards the end. You could say, okay, everybody raise your hand if you are part of a small business or a group that could really use this information. Everybody raised their hand. Okay, I would love to offer this free talk. And again, you're not always going to be paid at first. I don't think I've mentioned this. A lot of these things I were doing was free, and I'll get to why that's important to know, because you can work into getting paid for these small things as well. And I did that as well. Oh my gosh, I'm like a kid at Christmas because I am overjoyed with energy and enthusiasm. I hope you can hear it in my voice. We just announced that tickets are now on sale for the Amplify Your Life World Conference in September in Bend, Oregon. And I want you to get into this room. Now, why did we create this event? We created this event because time and time and time again, the two biggest challenges and things that held the individuals in my community back from really getting the success that they want, for going after their dreams and goals, were these two things. The first one was, how do I know if this investment is right for me? and being held back by sometimes the investment, the event, or the mastermind, or the coaching program was seemed so unattainable that it just stopped us in our tracks. And then the second thing being, well, I want to do this, but I want my significant other to come along too. I don't want to outgrow my significant other. I want to do this together. I mean, we're in this life together and I want to do it together. And those two challenges were the things that stopped people from making an investment in themselves, from saying yes to getting themselves in the room, for basically saying yes to stepping in to their God given vision and dreams and goals and calling and purpose. And now you don't have to consider those things anymore because with the Amplify Your Life World Conference, you get the best of it all. And your significant other gets to come too. This is not just a female only or a male only event, and it's not just a conference. So when you sign up for the conference, you actually fill out a survey and you get grouped with 20 other amazing individuals that are similar to you. So if you're a beginner, you're not going to be with someone that's so super expert in their area of genius that you feel not confident. And if you're an expert, you're not going to be with someone that's a beginner because you want to be with other experts, people that are lifting you up. So you get grouped with other like-minded individuals that will challenge you and want to be there to support you along with a coach. And you meet prior to the event, during the event, and after the event to make sure that whatever it is that you want to amplify in your life, whether that be your life, your relationships, your health, your business, your career, or anything else that you can think of, maybe it's your faith, that you are able to do that because you have this supportive community. So it's just like getting a coach because you're assigned a coach, it's joining a mastermind, and it's coming to the conference all for the small price tag of normally what you would just pay for like a 1 day boring in-person conference that you just shove your notes into the drawer with. So find out more. Text me the word amplify to 503-386-2981 and we will send you over all of the details, or just go to carmenoling.com and you can find it there as well. Here's to amplifying our lives in 2024 together. And so have them raise your hand and then collect their information. Tell them that you want a connection. Can you email connect me with the decision maker? Can you tell them how wonderful this was and what your takeaways were? Ask for the referrals. Okay, so number one is identify your message and your audience. So mine is pretty broad, but often it was women that were around 25 to 50 was my audience, my ideal audience, the people that I worked with. And yeah, at some of these businesses and lunch and learns that I would go to, there were men there and I could cater it towards that. But that was my ideal audience that would normally say yes. And then I started practicing by doing these free talks and talking about it and having something courageous, an opinion to stand on. And you want to think about this really as you're gaining this experience, which is the third one. Speakers that speak book more speaking jobs. Speakers that don't speak don't book more speaking jobs. So the more that you can be speaking, the better it's going to be. So as you're gaining experience, I don't want you to make it transactional, which means I don't want you to go and collaborate with the business, do the workshop, or go and do the lunch and learn at a local small business and then not follow up with them. Make it a relationship. Do some sort of routine follow up, send a handwritten thank you note, put them on your list to email your contact that you have there just to check in. Maybe they want another workshop. Maybe they want to start a like a small business wellness program and you be a part of it and it could be a paid option. Maybe you've spoken at a local chamber, a Rotary Club, or other networking group, and it's something that you could do again and you have some fresh information again around something that you know and that you're passionate about. You can have an opinion on and you can really deliver to people. And so it's about a relationship and not a transaction. And as you're gaining this experience, here's a thing that I want you to I want you to think about in your life. So, what is that one thing? And we're only going to pick one thing for now. I know you could probably talk on thousands of things, but that's where people normally go wrong. They try to give too much information, and your audience is like drinking from a fire hose. So, it's like, oh my gosh, that was good, but I don't even know what to do with it. You want them to be able to take and assimilate the information and make it not only inspirational, which they feel good in the moment, but aspirational. So they feel good in the moment and they take action in their own life. And you can only do that if you're not giving them too much. So I want you to start thinking about what is that one thing. And so if I talk about my nutrition, then that one thing was okay, how can we eat and cook real food? And then what are the principles underneath that? How has that benefited me? How have I changed in a story around that? How has one of my clients, how have they benefited in a story around that? Maybe what is a challenge? How have we overcome that and how they can overcome that too? Because they're already thinking that, right? And so, what I want you to think about is I want you to think about 4 points. Maybe it's a milestone, a turning point, a full circle moment, a story from yourself or one of your clients. Really, really, very specifically, what was that turning point? Like, let me share a story with you. And this is what I mean. So, if I was sharing about how eating real food helped me get out of the cycle of under eating and over exercising and overeating and using food for helping me with my emotional eating. So I tell this story about everyone was sleeping at my house, the kids and Joel, my husband, and I just had one of those days. I was just stressed to the max, upset. I was working my corporate career. I mean, at this time I was working like 60 hours a week. I was training really hard. I was trying to eat and diet and do all the things. And I saw this commercial for this Dairy Queen brownie ice cream thing. I thought, fuck it. I am going to go get that. So I drive all the way over there. There's this really long line for Dairy Queen. In the town that we lived in, there was only one Dairy Queen. Everybody was waiting in line. I get my sundae, and you know what? I am not eating that thing until I get home. I don't know if any of you have ever done this before. Maybe I'm over here alone, but I'm going to save that so I can savor every last bite on my couch, really lazily eating and enjoying my brownie ice cream. So I go to get out of our Tahoe, and for whatever reason, I had something else in my hand. Maybe it was just the keys or my water bottle. Got to be healthy drinking that water. And I shut the door with my foot. But mistakenly, at the same time, my whole ice cream flips upside down and lands onto the driveway. I immediately burst out crying. I'm so upset that I don't get to eat it. I throw it away and I go inside crying. And I'm crying for, just a little bit and so upset. And then I'm sitting there and I'm contemplating. I'm thinking, is this really my life? Did I just see a Dairy Queen commercial and drive to Dairy Queen, spend the freaking $6? I don't even remember how much it is. Shit's expensive now, though. It's probably like $12 now. And then drop it in the driveway and freak out and cry. And now I'm on my couch so sulking. Is that where I'm at? And in that moment, I made a decision that I was no longer going to do this because I had been eating in a way that was a diet mentality of eating less, exercising more, my body wasn't getting what it needed. And so then I would have these cravings. And when I felt like I needed to help my emotions, like I didn't know how to control my emotions or understand them, it's not really about controlling them, then I would eat. And oftentimes I would be eating, but not telling my family. I would secretly like hide away packaging and things like that. So I made the decision that I was no longer going to do that. And the thing that was going to kick it off for me and start it was next night at dinner, I was going to tell this story to my family, which they immediately started laughing and thought it was so hilarious. But for me, I started taking my power back. Okay, now that's the story, but I could have told that story and instantly so many people, maybe you're one of them, could relate to the emotional eating, could relate to the hiding food, could relate to that so much. And then I could give them 1 to 3 action steps in order to help with that. Great, right? So if you can pick, so let's say you have an hour talk and you pick 4 stories like that. Maybe one's about a client, a couple's about you, Again, a challenge might be good. And then 1 to 3 action steps that someone can take. And you break it down into 15-minute increments. It's so easy to start just preparing your talk or your workshop. So that is my tip on getting started. So just to recap here, and I guess you need to know like how can you get some of these? So if no one's asking you, hey, can you do a lunch and learn? First of all, it's going out and networking. Networking with chambers, networking with other networking groups is really great. Getting in community with people and then telling them what you have to offer. So start pitching yourself. Another thing that you can do is pick up the phone and call. Do you have, like in my case, it would be, do you have a wellness program? Now it would be, tell me about who's in charge of your leadership development, because the workshops that I'm doing for small business and corporations around life and leadership development, because one of our cornerstones of belief is really dynamic leadership and exceptional teams starts with personal development. And that's the piece that we often miss as leaders. And so I would be picking up the phone and I would be calling. I would be walking into businesses. These are things that I'm doing right now. You could also send emails as well, talking about how you can add value to the group or to the organization. For example, let me read you something that we were just emailing you over as part of our launch strategy for the Amplify Your Life World Conference. I'm doing as I travel already, so it's already built into my schedule. I'm doing free local talks to business groups and chambers and networking groups and leadership groups all across the United States. So I'm super excited about it. So if you've heard this and you want me to come and do a talk, it's not necessarily on how to be a speaker, but let me know. But here's a couple of the words that we wrote in the email, and feel free to use any of this if you want. Dear, and of course, fill in the blank. I hope this email finds you well. I'm writing on behalf of Carmen Oling, a distinguished keynote speaker and master life and leadership coach who will be visiting your town in May. Carmen has graciously expressed her willingness to waive her usual speaking fee to present to your business community. And then we talk about my experience and some topics that I would like to talk about. And then again, what's in it for them? We believe that Carmen's involvement would elevate your offerings and attract a significant audience, thereby making a substantial impact to your community. Thank you for considering this invitation, and we look forward to discussing the exciting opportunity further. Please click here to book a complimentary call with Carmen or simply hit reply to this email. Now, when you're thinking about your audience and what you're talking about, you want to make sure that what you have the courage to say and you're passionate about is going to be a benefit to the audience that you're pitching. And you want to be clear and concise on your topic and how it's going to impact them. For example, a keynote that I delivered multiple times last year, and I'm set to a few times this year as well, was called The Power of the Ask. So if I just say, I'll be talking about the power of the ask, well, people are like, what is that? Like, who is that for? How is that going to benefit me, my business, and my community? And so I would want to follow that up with a simple tagline of how to harness your superpower of asking so you can keep your commitments to yourself, get what you want, and take inspired action daily. So you see, by sharing the power of the ask, which is like kind of catchy, it piques their curiosity. It tells them how we can start asking better questions and asking for help so we can get what we want. We want that. We also want to keep commitments to ourselves, and we want to take inspired action each and every day. We all want that. We're all raising our hand. And so then they're like, yes, 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 please come and speak. Tell our community about this. We want to hear about this. Wow. I just downloaded a ton of information. I think even more. I kind of just did the fire hose, which I told you not to do. So I do want to do a recap of these key points. And when we publish our next series on part 2, it'll be more about your signature talk and what to exactly do once you get booked and what to look for, what to ask for, some places you can search to get booked, and things like that. So the number one is having the courage to have something to say you have an opinion about and you're passionate about. So identifying your message and then identifying your audience. Number 2 is to talk about it, to practice, to talk about it, to talk about it, to talk about it, to tell people about it, to tell people that you're offering these, and to start building relationships versus just transactions. And number 3 is just to gain that experience. Speakers that are speaking, no matter where you're speaking or how you're speaking, are gonna get booked to speak more. And I am like 110% on that, because every single time I speak on stage, someone else books me for either a talk or a workshop, 100%. And that's also a measurement that you can use of your success. How well are you delivering? Because if you're not delivering well, you're not going to get booked. So speakers that are speaking are going to be booked more often. So get out there, get curious, get courageous, have something to say that you're passionate about and have an opinion about. Start telling people about it. Get out of your office, go to networking, let them know you'll do lunch and learns, let them know that you'll speak at their chamber, at their business networking group, and have something to say and let them know what the impact is going to be for them and for their community. Ask for referrals, start free. It's okay if you're not getting paid, and then start working your way up. I used to charge like $500. Now I charge $10,000. It's a big difference, but also I'm energetically aligned with that price. And I know that I can deliver because I've talked about it. I've practiced, I've built my brand, I've gained experience, and I'm a speaker that speaks because I am getting booked to speak more. Yeah, yay. Okay, we made it through part 1. I look forward to sharing with you more on part 2. If this helped you in any way, like always, I would be so grateful if you just took a moment to text this to someone else that this could help. Share on your Instagram stories a takeaway. And remember, we have those tickets open for the Amplify Your Life World Conference, which is more than a conference. It's getting a coach, becoming part of a mastermind, and attending the conference all in one. And guess what? We haven't announced this yet, but because you're a podcast listener, there is going to be a call for speakers. So you could have a possibility to be a speaker too, but you have to have your ticket to the event to be able to apply. If you want more details on that, text me the word Amplify to 503-386-2981, or just click the link in the show notes, which will take you to the website, carmenoling.com. Thank you so much for listening. I'm super excited to share more about speaking, because you know what I know? The world needs more of you and what you have to say, your unique voice, and your message.